I bound to a strategy system that required me to redeem a reborn, blackened, moody, and distrustful villain. The system said, let's choose an identity then, the childhood sweetheart next door or the vicious female antagonist who will become his right-hand woman in the future. I said, I want to be his mom. I smiled faintly. If it's redemption, it would be best if all suffering never happened in the first place. This time, let him be a happy child with a mother, on a very ordinary day. A system claiming to be a redemption guide bound itself to me, tasking me with saving a reborn and corrupted antagonist. Although he is moody and lacks trust in others, at critical moments, he might even abandon you, or cause misunderstandings between you and other women. But as long as you put in the effort, you will ultimately achieve a happy ending. I looked at the photo of the fierce young man with cold eyes and a long scar across his face, maintaining a skeptical attitude. The system said, now, let's choose an identity. It could be his childhood sweetheart next door or the future villainess who becomes his right-hand woman. The system paused, its tone smug. Basically any female character who interacts with him, we can choose any of them. Aren't I amazing? I nodded. Then I choose to be his mom. I said, what boyfriend could be as sweet as a son? And just like that, I transmigrated into Kevin's mother. At a time when he had just been born, his father had died in an accident, leaving only the original weak female protagonist behind. In the original plot, because his father left a sum of compensation money, it attracted covetous eyes. In the middle of the night, his mother was killed by a thief who took the money and the child. The thief indulged in drinking, gambling, and womanizing, and being a bachelor, he took the child back to raise as his own for old age. At that time, surveillance systems were not advanced, and the murderer was never caught. But after the thief took the child back, he didn't treat him well, instead subjecting him to constant beatings and scolding. Kevin had a very miserable life and never attended school since childhood. When he grew up, the thief once got drunk and accidentally revealed Kevin's true origins. Kevin then killed the thief and joined the underworld, struggling to survive on his own. I took another look at his grown-up photo. There was a long scar on his face, almost spanning its entire length. Also inflicted by the thief, he looked extremely fierce, like a wolf. Kevin's father was an orphan with no living relatives, so I took the $5,000 and returned to the village where I grew up. In this era, $5,000 is still considered a lot of money. After all, even households with $10,000 are rare nowadays. I arranged for someone to regularly look after the small courtyard in town, which can be used for Kevin's schooling when he grows up. The original owner was also an orphan, raised by the kindness of the villagers since childhood. Not everyone in the village is a good person, but the general atmosphere is quite honest and simple. Moreover, the village has a large population, and people are united. When something happens, everyone helps out quickly. Unlike the small cubicles in the city where people hardly communicate, someone could die in their house and no one would know for days. When I returned to the village with my child, the villagers were all very surprised. But I paid the money, and the village party secretary still approved a foundation for me. I paid for everyone's meals, gave wages, and bought meat. Soon enough, I found enough people to help me build the house. During that time, I stayed at the village party secretary's house. Strictly speaking, the original owner was still in the postpartum confinement period. The village party secretary's wife, Aunt Mary, took care of me during my postpartum confinement, while her daughter-in-law Kathy helped look after Kevin. By this time, Kevin had already been reborn, his pitch-black eyes devoid of emotion, giving off an eerie vibe. But after all, he was still an infant. No amount of gloom could override his biological instincts. He spent his days eating and sleeping, yet carried himself with an odd sense of dignity, never crying at all. He only whimpers a little when he's extremely hungry, and he completely refuses to take my milk. When Aunt Mary held him in my arms, he kept sticking out his tongue. I felt quite embarrassed too. After all, I've never been a mother before, and breastfeeding directly was really awkward. I bought some powdered milk and malted milk from the town, which were considered good stuff at the time. Kathy made a drink for Kevin and fed him little by little with a small spoon. But a baby's stomach is small and can't hold much. Soon after drinking, he peed, wiggling his legs and whimpering a little. Kathy changed his diaper, patted his little bottom, and laughed at him. He's definitely going to be a cold and aloof man when he grows up, already putting on such an act from such a young age. Kevin's little hands flailed about, as if trying to cover his face. Then he let out a couple of cries, wanting me to hold him. I smiled and took him into my arms. where he looked at me with some curiosity. I said gently, "I'm your mommy. This time, you will have a happy life." The new house was quickly built, and with the system's help, I soon furnished it. Kevin and I moved into the new home, and his favorite daily activity was staring at me in a daze. Whenever this happened, I would tease him mercilessly, laughing heartily at his flustered reactions. Kevin would angrily flail his little hands, only to be pacified the next second with a bottle of milk before falling fast asleep. And so, Kevin grew to be 3 years old. He didn't like going out. But because I often made delicious food, many children would come over. Thus, he never lacked playmates, yet he always wore a grumpy little face, earning him teasing from others who said he looked like a grumpy old man. Today I brought him a little hat, dressed him in yellow overalls with pockets stuffed full of candy, and hung a small water bottle on him. "Go out and play with your friends." Kevin, acting cool, still clung to my leg and climbed up, saying in a baby voice, "Mommy, no, go out." I crouched down, looking at him gently and encouragingly. "Today is an adventure for the little warrior. Mom will be waiting for you at home, I promise." I pushed Kevin out the door, and with the system's help, I could see the live feed. He stood at the door with a bitter little face for a while. Finally, he began to walk with his short little legs. Judging by the direction, he was probably heading to the haystack at the village entrance, where the village kids often played hide and seek. I had taken him there several times. Several adults saw him on the road and greeted him. "Kevin, where are you going?" Kevin took 2 steps forward, then stopped and slowly raised his head. Finally, he replied, "Going out to play." The adults smiled with squinted eyes and said, go ahead, but don't run too far. He doesn't like to interact with people." When I took him out before, he would always nestle in my arms, but I told him that it's polite to respond when others greet you. He nodded his little head with a muffled voice. "Thank you, I got it." The adults patted his head, and he shook it off, taking 2 quick steps away. As he walked, he adjusted his hat with his hand. Today, I brought him a blue hat with a little tiger on it, although he once sarcastically called it childish, but I know he really liked it, because he would always pick at it with his little finger, so I embroidered all kinds of little animals on the clothes I gave him. He walked for quite a while before reaching the haystack. The village children saw him and immediately swarmed around with a burst of excitement. "Kevin, why are you out playing alone? Where's your mom?" A little girl pointed at the small yellow duck on his overalls and said, "Your clothes are really cute." His eyes immediately filled with envy. In these times, children rarely had new clothes. Most wore hand-me-downs altered from adult garments. The boys also crowded around Kevin, staring at the little tiger design on his head. Kevin covered his head and swayed from side to side, shouting loudly, "Don't touch me, or I won't give you any candy." The children immediately got excited when they heard there was candy. "Candy, there's candy." Then they all stood straight in line. Kevin sighed and pointed at them. "Line up nicely to get your treats." They immediately nodded and sat down one by one. Kevin then took out candies from his pocket and handed them out one by one. Some of the children licked the wrappers while eating their candies. "Your mom is so great, dressing you in new clothes and always buying you candy to eat. And her cooking is delicious too. I wish your mom were my mom." This immediately struck a chord with everyone. They all said, yeah, I wish she were my mom too." Some children even got jealous. "You're lazy, mom won't like you. You're too naughty, mom won't like you either." Then Kevin got a little angry and reached out his small hand to grab the candy in a huff. "That's my mom. She won't like you. Not a single one would like it." The children quickly covered their mouths with both hands. Not letting him deduct points, Kevin glared at them for a while, but it was completely useless. He turned around and ran off with a clatter. After running for a while, he probably got tired and squatted by the roadside, taking a sip of water from his bottle. Then, hesitating for a moment, he unwrapped a white rabbit candy and popped it into his mouth. His little cheeks puffed up instantly, and I laughed. He looked just like a little hamster. Just then, a sparrow suddenly flew over, perched in front of him, and tilted its head to look at him. Unafraid of people, Kevin watched for a while, then took a biscuit from his pocket, broke it into pieces, and threw them on the ground. The little sparrow, with round eyes, stared at him for a long time before lowering its head to eat the biscuit. The system observed Kevin and sighed with emotion. Who would have thought this was a ruthless little villain? Kevin is now fair and tender, even a bit chubby compared to other children. His little hands are round, his little face is round, like a white dumpling. I replied, "Of course, fertile land will bloom beautiful flowers, which is perfectly normal. The system fawningly sidled up. The villain's favorability toward you has already reached 60%. This is absolutely unbelievable. Conquering such a villain would take at least 10 or 20 years, if not more. I gave it a smug look. It's perfectly normal for a child to like someone who takes care of them every day. The system said, "You're so full of yourself." With that, I scooped up a handful of flour, ready to make some butter cookie biscuits. In the system's display, I saw Kevin approaching the big tree in front of the door. I immediately walked out, holding the candied hawthorns I made myself, afraid he might harm his teeth. I usually control it very strictly. Standing at the door, I was wearing a yellow floral dress. Seeing Kevin come into view, I called out to him, "Kevin." He had been taking small steps when suddenly he broke into a little run. As he ran, he started laughing, revealing his tiny milk teeth. This was the first time he had smiled so happily. I opened my arms and hugged him tightly, asking happily, "Did you have fun today?" He nuzzled against my neck and nodded vigorously. I kissed his forehead, set him down on the ground, and handed him the candied hawthorn, saying, "A reward for the little warrior." Kevin's eyes sparkled as he stuck out his tongue to lick the candied hawthorn, then squinted in enjoyment. The system curiously fluttered around him in excitement. The villain has turned into a little foodie. After this incident, Kevin seemed to become a bit more lively. Although he still doesn't like going out much, he's willing to hang out if his little friends come to invite him. The kids also very loyally patted their chests and promised to protect Kevin well. As a reward for me often treating them to snacks, apart from some gossipy aunties in the village who either wanted to set me up or speculated about how much money I had, life was passing by very peacefully. That day, there was a knock at the gate. Given the villagers' warm hospitality and their habit of dropping by unannounced, I usually kept the gate locked. Who could it be? I had just reached the gate and was about to open it when the system frantically spoke up, "Host, don't open the door. It's that thief. It's the thief who killed the original owner." My hand paused at the door, then I calmly undid the latch as if nothing was wrong. "It's all right, I actually know a bit of martial arts myself," the system said. "Oh, I almost forgot. After all, a widow's door is often plagued by gossip, and the peace I enjoy now is largely thanks to my strong fists, after dealing with a few troublemakers who didn't know their place." The villagers all learned that the woman who returned was not only wealthy but also fierce. The door opened to reveal a man standing there in a shirt, neat and tidy, looking quite presentable, but perhaps he had only freshened up temporarily, as his body still exuded the lingering scent of years of drinking and smoking. I smiled and asked, "Can I help you?" The man glanced around the courtyard, a hint of greed flashing in his eyes. "Hello there, I'm Bob. I've been working outside these past few years and just recently returned to the village. I heard you're new to the village. I came to get acquainted." I nodded with a smile. "Hello, my name is Sarah. Actually, I'm not new. I grew up here. I've just come back to the village. That's all. As for you, I've never seen you before. You're not from this village, are you?" Bob smiled awkwardly. "I came here midway, so I guess I count as a villager now." Just as they were speaking, a sudden shout came from behind. "Mom!" I turned my head and saw Kevin had woken up from his nap and come out of the house. I waved at him. "Come here, Kevin, this is your new uncle, Bob." Kevin ran over with quick steps, his tiger-like eyes fixed on Bob, his whole body tense. He clung to my leg without saying a word. Bob forced out an awkward laugh, pulled 2 cookies from his pocket, and coaxed, "Kid, these are cookies, never seen them before, have you? Go on, eat up." A few years ago, these would have been quite a novelty for village children, but now, Kevin is almost tired of eating it. He usually generously feeds sparrows with it. Even other kids wouldn't be that greedy, so Kevin glanced at him, his small hand reaching over. Just as Bob began to smile, he raised his little hand and threw the cookie far away. Bob clicked his tongue, unconsciously revealing a fierce expression, then noticed someone was watching and quickly changed his demeanor. "Ha ha. This kid is a bit rude, isn't he?" Hearing someone criticize my child right in front of me, my face darkened as I held Kevin in my arms. The child is young and doesn't like being teased. If there's nothing else, I'll close the door now. After closing the door, I saw through the system him scratching his head irritably and muttering under his breath, "Damn brat." He took a couple of steps as if to pick up the biscuit, but happened to turn his head and saw the neighbor aunt peeking over the wall with her eyes. Finally, he walked away cursing under his breath. Seeing that he had left, Monica quickly ran out a few steps to pick up the biscuit, then came to knock on my door. Holding Kevin, I opened the door, and Monica slipped in, whispering mysteriously, "Girl, you're in luck. Bob must have made it big and come back, and he's taken a liking to you." I chuckled. "Auntie, how do you know he's made a fortune?" Monica clicked her tongue. "Isn't it obvious? Look at what he's wearing. Just like city folks. He even brought you cookies when he visited." As she spoke, she pulled out the cookies she had picked up and probed further. "Little sister, if you don't want this anymore, I'll take it back." I shook my head but still reminded her, "He's been away all year. Who knows what shady business he's up to? Auntie, you'd better keep an eye out. I still have some biscuits left. Take some home if you'd like." My aunt nodded when she heard what I said. "That's true, but don't worry, nothing bad will happen. If he dares to have any ill intentions, the villagers would drown him in their spit." In the end, my aunt didn't take the cookies. After all, her son often came to my place for meals, so she probably felt too embarrassed. I don't really mind. After all, the villagers have to work in the fields every day, which I don't do, although I buy food with money, as a member of the village. Not contributing labor always invites criticism from others. Every year, I also give the village chief a sum of money to cover unexpected repair costs for the village, so most villagers don't have any complaints about me. Instead, they see me as a god of wealth who should be revered. There were also those blind fools who tried to steal money from my house, but the ducks and the wolfhound in the yard were no pushovers. I deliberately fenced the entire perimeter of the walled yard. Anyone who came in would be like a turtle caught in a jar. After seeing them off, Kevin obediently curled up in my arms and looked up at me, probably because he had knocked the cookies flying and was afraid I'd scold him. I didn't really say anything profound, just tapped his nose lightly. "Want some cookies? Teddy bear cookies?" I have to admit, having a cheat device is really great, for harmless little things like this. The system can not only replicate them infinitely for me but also keep them fresh anytime. I still remember when I first made such a request, the whole system was in a panic. "That can't be right," I probed. "Why not? It doesn't affect others or disrupt the market. It's just to make raising the little ones more convenient. Give it a try." The system nervously tried twice, and sure enough, nothing happened. Later, it gradually became my go-to tool for slacking off. Even maintaining my current lifestyle is possible because it investigated some businesses, allowing me to receive dividends by investing in them. Don't underestimate business people. Although such opportunities aren't common now, no one would turn down a chance to make money. Kevin's chubby little hands held a cookie as he munched away, trying hard to speak. "Big bad guy, ignore." I patted his head to soothe his emotions. "I understand, don't be afraid." Perhaps Monica was right. This Bob seems to have taken a liking to me. He kept wandering around my place for no reason. Several times when I opened the door, I saw him striking a pose under the big tree in front of my house. His eyes would light up the moment he spotted me. "Hey, girl, what a coincidence. We keep running into each other." Before he could finish speaking, I slammed the door shut in his face. At times like these, Kevin would pout his little butt and feed the wolf pup with meat, muttering under his breath, eat up, bite him to death, bite him to death." The system trembled in fear. "Host, look at him, can he still be straightened out?" I laughed at its alarmist attitude. From my observation, Kevin was just a child with some memories. It's perfectly normal for a child to dislike someone and want to scare them off with their pet. I took 2 steps forward, grabbed Kevin by the collar, and lifted him up. His little legs kicked in the air, and when he looked up at me, his sweet smile bloomed again. "Mommy," I held him under his arms and spun him around a few times, and he immediately clung to my neck, giggling uncontrollably. I said, "Kevin's grown up now, it's time for school." When it comes to going to school, his eyes, unbeknownst to himself, are filled with anticipation. "Me, going to school?" I nodded. In this era, very few people attend school. One reason is that boys are seen as labor force, and another is the impact of the rural movement, which has led many to believe that education is useless. But by the time Kevin grows up, the college entrance exams will have been reinstated. Rather than letting him idle at home with his thoughts, it would be better to send him to school to interact with peers his age. So I got both of us ready and took the village ox cart to town to buy some paper and brushes for his basic education. On the ox cart, there were other villagers also heading to town to buy things. When they saw Kevin and me, they greeted us warmly, especially Kevin. His fair, tender little face made him utterly adorable. The ladies were so eager to come over without hesitation. Oh my, look at this handsome little face, look at these little hands, how perfectly they're shaped. At first, Kevin kept a cool and aloof expression, but soon he shyly buried himself in my arms. Too embarrassed to lift his head, in his previous life, after Bob had disfigured his face, children would burst into tears at the sight of him, and adults always looked at him with disgust. Such straightforward praise was probably something he had never heard before. I playfully wrapped my arms around him, pinching his shy, flushed cheeks, then leaned in to whisper in his ear, "So many people like you." He tried hard to press the corners of his mouth down, but in the end, his two little front teeth still peeked out. First, I took Kevin into the bookstore, where he looked around curiously. He rarely came to town, let alone visited a bookstore, mainly because every time I went shopping, I'd sneak in some personal items, so it wasn't convenient to bring him along. The styles of notebooks were quite monotonous, so I didn't let him choose and just picked a few randomly. Then I took him to the book section. He looked around and asked in confusion, "Aren't there any comic books?" I smiled. Sometimes you have to hunt for comic books at recycling stations, since they're being heavily restricted these days. I mysteriously shook my head, and he immediately closed his mouth, pursing it tightly, then grabbed my hand to pull me outside. I took him to the supply and marketing cooperative again, where rows of counters displayed various goods. When I lifted him up, he was instantly captivated. The salesperson noticed and warmly asked, "Little one, what would you like to buy?" Kevin furrowed his brows, his face scrunching up like the character, but he couldn't answer for a long time. Eventually, he turned and buried his face in my shoulder. "Not buying, let's go back." I patted his back and smiled at the salesperson. "Sorry, we're just looking for now." Then I carried him aside and asked quietly, "Haven't decided what you want yet, huh?" Kevin nodded, looking somewhat dejected. I asked him, "What's wrong?" Who knew he'd pout and actually start crying? I was a bit surprised. After all, he had always been mature beyond his years since childhood, acting like a little adult who wouldn't even cry when he fell. Kevin probably also felt a bit embarrassed, covering his face and refusing to look up, sobbing quietly. I found it somewhat amusing. What on earth happened? Kevin didn't answer, so I took him around for a walk. I thought since he rarely gets to come here, he probably wanted to buy something. If I just took him home like this, he might feel disappointed. He's 4 years old now and not exactly light, so carrying him around is actually quite tiring. Fortunately, I have a habit of working out. After all, being both father and mother, you can't afford to lack strength. After walking around for a while, Kevin calmed down and started cautiously looking around again. I wandered around the toys section for a while, then the food section, and even browsed through fabrics and furniture. After a while, Kevin pinched my arm, and I looked over. Made up your mind." He looked a bit hesitant, but still pointed at a doll and said, "Can we buy that one? Candy's birthday is coming up. For a birthday present." Candy is the village party secretary's little granddaughter, always happily trotting along behind him. I looked over. The dolls at that time were very crudely made, but they were still considered rare items. I nodded generously and asked the salesperson about the price. The salesperson was extremely enthusiastic, probably because the item wasn't selling well due to its price. Indeed, the price wasn't cheap. It cost $50. The salesperson strongly recommended it. "This is imported goods, very rare, and doesn't require any coupons." Kevin fidgeted awkwardly, rubbing his palms together, but didn't refuse. I handed the doll to him, paid for it, and said with satisfaction, "Kevin has a friend to care about now," holding the doll, which covered half his face. Kevin replied somewhat shyly, "I don't want any presents for my next birthday." Instead of this, I tapped his little nose and said casually, "It's okay, Mom has money, so this time, you can do whatever you want to do." Perhaps it was the confidence that money and love provided. Although Kevin's memory should have been filled with filth and chaos, the timid inferiority within him was gradually fading away. After all, he was now the most popular kid in the entire class. On the first day of school, the teacher told me that both boys and girls had fought fiercely over who would get to sit next to him. Kevin also pouted and complained, "People keep pulling on the bunny ears on my pants. I don't want to go to school tomorrow." But the next day, he still obediently went to class with his little backpack. The summer breeze brushed past his face, also carrying away the dampness deep in his soul. The small figure grew increasingly upright, and the expressions on his face became more and more varied. The lifeless boy the system had once shown me had now become this fair and adorable little child. On a certain night during his first grade year, The promising little wolf dog lived up to expectations by biting and crippling Bob's leg as he tried to climb over the wall. Kevin laughed happily and unrestrainedly in his small room, scaring the system half to death. In his second grade year, through an introduction, Bob married the daughter of a very fierce butcher from the neighboring village, originally intending to marry a laborer to serve him. Unexpectedly, the woman was incredibly strong, and Bob couldn't control her at all, ending up getting beaten every day. From then on, Kevin's favorite thing to do was to wake up half an hour earlier every day before school. He would circle around Bob's house a few times, enjoying the sight of him howling in pain from the beatings. Of course, I had to fulfill this little request of his, but we couldn't do this every single day. After more than half a year, I finally no longer wanted to wake up early. I stopped the child who was still eager to see the joke and told him, "Cicadas may be noisy, but they only clamor for one summer. You have countless important things to do, Kevin. Don't waste your time on unworthy people." Though it's an excuse to avoid waking up early, it's also my genuine feeling. I know Kevin cares deeply about Bob. That was the beginning of all his misery, but he shouldn't devote all his heart and soul to Bob. He is destined for a much broader world. Kevin stared at me for a long time, and in the end, his eyes reddened as he burst into the first heartfelt sob of his life, perhaps because the long-standing worry was finally resolved. The system informed me that Kevin's affection for me had reached 100%. I wasn't surprised at all. When you have 100 candies in your pocket, you naturally don't hesitate to share them with others. The system asked, "Do you want to leave?" I shook my head. "In this lifetime, let's just continue being happy like this." Kevin's side story. When I was executed by firing squad, I wasn't sad, only relieved. This miserable life was finally coming to an end. If there's a next life, let me be a tree, a flower, anything but human again. Being human is too painful. But when I opened my eyes again and saw the gentle woman before me who called herself my mother, I was stunned. I had never met my parents, and only learned a shred of information about her from that scumbag's mouth. I had imagined countless times what my life would have been like if she had survived. At the very least, I wouldn't have been chased around like a stray dog. No matter how much I fantasized, it could never compare to the life she truly brought me when she was right in front of me. Happiness, sweetness, the fists and kicks that appeared countless times in nightmares turned into a pair of gentle hands. The stench of alcohol filling the room transformed into the sweetness of candy and the aroma of cookies. If this is a dream, then I don't want to wake up. I was terrified on my first solo outing. How ridiculous. Considering I wasn't even afraid when 3 of my ribs were once kicked in, but as a child, I seem to have grown increasingly fragile. Though the world is so vast, all I can see are the feet of adults. It was an instinct I couldn't resist, but she said I'm a little warrior now, so I must go out and explore. Along the way, I passed by enormous uncles, greedy children who wanted to claim her as their mother, and dazed little sparrows. It truly felt like an adventure, sweet syrup when thirsty, milky candies when hungry. I was no longer alone. It was as if I had fallen into the fairy tale world she described, where the wind in the air, the bird song in my ears, and the grass by the roadside all came to life. I clearly realized that I am different now. I, who once fought with stray dogs for a bite to eat, have actually learned to share and appreciate the beauty in life. At this moment, I can't wait to see her. The endless road no longer seems frightening. I ran, I laughed, because she was waiting for me at the end. Today I cried, and it was inexplicable. There really was no reason, except that when the salesperson asked what I wanted, I wasn't sure, but I just feel that I, a 4-year-old big kid reborn from the future, shouldn't even struggle to pick a small gift. I should glance over and immediately spot exactly what I want, then casually wrap it up. That's how I should be. At least, that's what I think, but the reality is, I'm acting like a genuine 4-year-old toddler, agonizing over the choice. Cookies and candies seem too ordinary. I usually treat candy to them anyway. Kids can't make fabric crafts, and adults might even confiscate them. Then just take me away instead. I won't give anything at all. But she had to gently ask if I hadn't made up my mind yet. She's really infuriating. Why does she always guess exactly what I'm thinking? I sulked and didn't speak, but instead of taking me away, she carried me around as we strolled. Truth be told, I should have gotten down and walked on my own. I wasn't tired, but she might have been, yet I just couldn't bring myself to say anything, as if my mouth were glued shut. But I think I'll remember this afternoon for the rest of my life. She showed me that it's okay to take things slow. Now I can hardly tell whether those painful memories in my mind truly existed. Perhaps those were just dreams, merely reminding me to cherish my current life. So when I saw that man again, I felt like I was going insane. No one can ruin my life now. I have to kill him. Every day I save some of my rations to feed the little wolf dog at home and train it. Kill Bob, kill him, kill him. The long-lost dark thoughts surged back, but before they could engulf me, they were scattered by a pair of hands. She asked me if I wanted some cookies. I pursed my lips. She has no idea how serious this is. This is absolutely not the time for cookies, but then again, the cookies are really delicious. Munch munch munch. Yo, strawberry flavor. I went to school, an experience I never had in my previous life. I knew the college entrance exams would be reinstated later, and those who studied could live well. Once, I was so envious. Now, I finally got my chance. But school life turned out to be quite different from what I had imagined. Today, fatty girl managed to grab the seat next to me. But during lunch she turned her head and knocked me to the ground. So embarrassing. I'm furious. After class, Egghead asked me for help with a math problem, insisting that 2 plus 3 equals 6. Even after 10 minutes of explaining, he said I was a bad teacher. What an idiot. Candy stole my snacks again. This is the 5th, no, the umpteenth time. After school, some older bullies blocked my way and demanded protection money. Heh, time to show them the power of a former bully. But before I could act, a bunch of my classmates rushed out shouting, "Don't mess with Kevin." Then he tripped over his own feet and started wailing for help. Academically, I wasn't exactly crushing it either. Question: do you like spring? Why? My answer: yes, because spring means strawberries, and I love eating strawberries. Correction: wrong, because in spring, everything comes back to life. The scenery is very beautiful, and everywhere is full of vitality. Liar. That's clearly not what I was thinking, Mom. The teacher marked me wrong. After hearing the first story above, what are your thoughts? Feel free to share your opinions in the comments section. Next, there is another similar story. Let's continue to see. Walking downstairs to the company, I saw a plainly dressed girl angrily scolding a young master driving a luxury car. Do you think you can humiliate me with money? I may be poor, but I have my dignity. Aren't you disgusted by your own behavior? The young master meekly replied, then next time I'll ride a shared bike. A barrage of comments floated across my vision. Sigh, the male lead didn't consider the female lead situation. Making such a grand gesture to send her back would make her colleagues mistakenly think she's a gold digger. The male lead was born with a silver spoon in his mouth. How would he know the hardships of ordinary life? To put it bluntly, his family's wealth comes from exploiting workers. The female lead will teach him that everyone is equal. The female lead will never give in. The male lead won't win her over so easily. Get ready to taste the bitterness of love. So handsome, so rich, and still single. No wonder he's the male lead they're talking about. I walked up to the young master and said, "Your car is so cool. Can you take me for a ride?" Jiang Shizhou was clearly stunned and looked up to size me up. He had just been scolded mercilessly by Su Duo on the street, and the tips of his ears were still slightly red. Su Duo whispered softly beside me, "What are you doing? He drives insanely fast. Are you trying to get yourself killed, miss? You wouldn't risk your life for just a little money, would you?" I took a step closer to Jiang Shizhou, putting some distance between myself and Su Duo. I've genuinely never seen an Aston Martin in this color before, and I really love fast cars. Could you give me a ride? Su Duo was practically tugging at my sleeve as she spoke. Don't you know how dangerous he is? He has a mental illness. You know, miss, I'm just giving you a friendly reminder because you're so pretty. Jiang Shizhou was still hesitating and didn't speak. Su Duo's words to me were all heard by him. I noticed Jiang Shizhou's body trembling slightly. I leaned close to his ear and whispered, "Girls just don't get it sometimes. They need a little external push. Just give me a ride. I won't do anything to you, okay?" Jiang Shizhou stared at the female lead. Su Duo slightly raised her chin with an air of defiance, as if she'd rather die than yield. I continued, "Who knows, maybe if you give me a ride, she'll start feeling threatened." Finally, Jiang Shizhou nodded. All right. I got into Jiang Shizhou's sports car, and the young master revved the engine with a roaring sound. So exhilarating, the air was filled with the scent of money. The sports car pulled up in front of my house, but I didn't get out. Instead, I adjusted to my most flattering angle, facing Jiang Shizhou. "Thank you, I really like it." Jiang Shizhou looked puzzled. Don't you think I'm driving too fast? Don't you feel like throwing up? Don't you think I'm disrespecting you? I knew very well that the female lead didn't like riding in sports cars. She found them too flashy and complained that the young master couldn't drive smoothly. But I loved it. I said to him very seriously, I've never ridden in such an exhilarating car before. Thank you so much. Jiang Shizhou leaned one arm against the car window, his slender fingers resting lightly. The black shirt outlined the elegant contours of his muscles, handsome and irresistibly alluring. Taking advantage of Jiang Shizhou's distraction, I leaned close to his ear. Give me a chance, won't you? Jiang Shizhou froze for a moment, his eyes narrowing slightly. What are you doing? I curled the corners of my lips, looking at him with a half-smile. What's the matter? You and she aren't in a relationship anyway. This is just fair competition. The first half was slightly assertive, while the latter half was soft and sticky. Just perfect. I winked at him. Why don't you give me a try? Maybe you don't actually like innocent little white flowers at all. I took out his phone, added one of my contact methods, and wrote a note. Future girlfriend. Jiang Shizhou's ears turned red again. What do you want? I grinned at him cheekily. I want you. I found out that Su Duo is an employee at Jiang Shizhou's family company, the epitome of a well-behaved, innocent girl who graduated from prestigious schools and landed a job as an ordinary staff member at a major corporation. She cares deeply about what others think of her. In the break room, Su Duo overheard her colleagues gossiping again. Did young Master Jiang come to the office again today? I heard he never used to show up before. Yeah, he even walked around our work area several times. Could he have taken a liking to someone? Ugh, it must be some female employee deliberately trying to seduce young Master Jiang. A wealthy heir like him has women swarming around him like fish in a river. Su Duo wished she could find a hole to hide in. If Jiang Shizhou kept this up and got discovered by her colleagues, how could she ever face them again? Jiang Shizhou had never disturbed Su Duo. Just a brief glance in the break room was enough for Su Duo to quickly lower her head and return to her workstation, afraid of being discovered having any private connection with Jiang Shizhou. Including the countless text messages Jiang Shizhou sent her, she never replied to a single one. Su Duo wouldn't even speak an extra word to Jiang Shizhou at the company, terrified of being found out. Su Duo avoided Jiang Shizhou, and Jiang Shizhou visibly wilted, his eyes slightly drooping. I learned all this from the bullet comments, where everyone was criticizing. Does the young master realize how much pressure he's putting on the female lead? I had a collaboration with Jiang Shizhou's company and happened to witness this scene in their work area. I took the initiative to approach Jiang Shizhou and handed him a box. Young master, may you be happy every day. Here's a gift for you. Jiang Shizhou frowned his handsome brows. Are you treating me like a child? I chuckled twice, tilting my head to look at him. From an outsider's perspective, it looked as if we were kissing. Some employees had already secretly taken out their phones to snap pictures of us. I waved at the young master, openly letting them take their shots. Many people in the company are whispering about me. That woman is so beautiful. She's not from our company, is she? No, she's the manager recently collaborating with us on the South City project. She's been here several times, but I didn't expect it either. Turns out this account manager knows young Master Jiang, and they seem to have quite a close relationship. The attitude of these employees towards me changed instantly. We went through several contracts effortlessly. And even the previously paternalistic male manager poured me a glass of water. Miss Wen, if you have any requests, just say so. I shook my head, looking pleasantly surprised. How could I possibly have any more requests? You're truly professional. The male manager smiled as if he had just received a year-end bonus. My gaze shifted slightly, fixed on the CEO's office. The moment Jiang Shizhou opened the gift, his ears suddenly turned bright red, and he took out his phone to text me. What I gave him was a pair of golden handcuffs, perfectly tailored to appeal to a possessive male lead like him. Jiang Shizhou asked, "What are you up to?" I said, "Isn't it exciting? Maybe you'll like it too." Jiang Shizhou said, "This is our family's company." I said, "Aren't you the one paying the salaries? Even if we did it in your office right now, would they dare to give you a second look?" Moi. I've looked into it. The reason Su Duo is so reluctant to interact with Jiang Shizhou in public is that many people in their company gossip about her being a gold digger. In my opinion, these people are just jealous. They can't date a tall, rich, and handsome guy themselves, yet they still feel the need to throw shade at others. This only deepens Su Duo's sense of inferiority. As for me, I happen to lack such insecurities. Being stared at by others only excites me. I genuinely want to win Jiang Shizhou's heart. From any perspective, he is my best choice. A top-tier wealthy second-generation heir who keeps himself pristine, with that handsome face. Only the female lead remains unmoved. The moment Jiang Shizhou stepped out of the company, I stopped his car. I got in and said, "So, I'm wearing a full set underneath. Want to give it a try?" Jiang Shizhou, as the male lead, was somewhat distant from a life of debauchery. He had never faced such temptation before. His brows furrowing deeply. "What exactly are you trying to do?" He seemed to instantly recall my flirtatious words, his face flushing crimson. I curled my lips at him. "We can start by being boyfriend and girlfriend," Jiang Shizhou replied coldly. "I like Su Duo. You should know I'm pursuing her now." I didn't care at all. "It's fine, you'll soon fall for me." My hand reached for Jiang Shizhou's abs. "If you don't want to try, at least let me touch them." Jiang Shizhou's ears turned red again as he removed my hand from him. I thought he was quite innocent. My impression of him kept improving in my heart. The barrage comments erupted with sharp screams again. The male lead Jiang Shizhou's chastity is reserved for the female lead. He hasn't even had his first kiss yet. What are you trying to do, you wicked woman? What the? Why is this woman everywhere around the male lead? What exactly is she up to? The male lead Jiang Shizhou is supposed to run into the female lead tonight, but she's completely blocking the way. The female lead just walked past, and Jiang Shizhou didn't even notice her. He hasn't even had his first kiss yet. How adorably innocent. I love it so much. Could there possibly be such a perfect man in this world? No, there isn't. No wonder he's the male lead. I need to weave a big net to completely draw Jiang Shizhou into my world. When Su Duo's parents appeared before her, she was utterly shocked, her face filled with astonishment. Her parents didn't even know how to buy train tickets. How did they manage to find their way here? "Mom, Dad, what brings you here?" I quietly hid in the back to watch. Of course, I was the one who brought them here. Su Duo's parents fussed over her with concern, and Su Duo even shed tears. Her mother even pulled me aside and said, "We got lost on the way here, and it was this young lady who guided us." Su Duo thanked me, saying, "It's all my fault for being so immature. I blocked my parents' contact info before." She paused. "It's their first time in a big city, and they're not familiar with anything. Sorry to trouble you." I held back the urge to roll my eyes to the heavens. My legendary female protagonist. Indeed, they just want your money. I met them on the road, and when I mentioned knowing you, their eyes instantly lit up with greed. A barrage of comments reminded me that these two were Su Duo's vampire parents, who had come to rely on her after racking up gambling debts back home. How could the little money Su Duo earns from her job possibly cover all their debts? Her parents perked up the moment they saw Su Duo. "Why haven't you been answering our calls? Don't you know your cousin is getting married? Hurry up and transfer money to your cousin. We're counting on him to take care of us in our old age." It was really quite embarrassing in front of everyone, but Su Duo was already used to it. "I'll transfer the money, it just takes some time." I pulled Su Duo aside. "I'll transfer you $100,000, give it to them and cut ties. They're just here to ask you for money." Su Duo's eyes turned red. "No, they love me, they're just short on money now, and I'm their only daughter. I have to take care of them." I neither agreed nor disagreed, a rare moment of conscience, only to be shut down. Seeing my silence, Su Duo took the initiative to speak. "Anyway, thank you for bringing them here." She pursed her lips, mustering great resolve before saying, "I don't know what your intentions are, but sister, you should stay away from Jiang Shizhou. I've been to his house. He has a basement filled with my photos. There's also a huge lock in the basement. Sister, aren't you afraid he might lock you in there? He has a mental illness, one that can't be cured. He's not like those rich second-generation kids." I froze for a moment. So she was afraid Jiang Shizhou would lock her up. She was scared of Jiang Shizhou's obsession. I think she must have never seen the methods of other rich second-generation heirs. If Jiang Shizhou really wanted to force her, she wouldn't be standing here unharmed. It's just a little fun between couples. I'm not afraid. Su Duo still managed to speak with difficulty. Jiang Shizhou has really bad intentions. He even insulted my parents before. He doesn't respect me at all. Sister, you should be careful if you're going to date him. I nodded and watched as Su Duo and her parents left. The parents mentioned in the bullet comments who always ask for money as soon as their daughter has any. Aren't they worth criticizing? And as the bullet comments pointed out, What kind of only child is she? It's just that the policy didn't allow her parents to have more children. If Su Duo hadn't been present earlier, I would have definitely said a few harsh words too. Su Duo hadn't gone to work for several days. I could even notice the slightly disappointed expression on Jiang Shizhou's face as he sat in the CEO's office with his eyes closed, looking utterly pitiful. I frantically chatted with him on my phone. Have you used the handcuffs I gave you? Jiang Shizhou replied, speechless. I said, of course you can't play this alone. It's only fun when two people play together. Give me 50, and I'll take you to experience a new world. Jiang Shizhou said, no, I want to chase Su Duo. I said, ha. You can't catch up anymore. Look, her first love is back. Attached is a photo of Su Duo on a date with her first love, smiling and appearing much happier than when she was with Jiang Shizhou. Jiang Shizhou clearly panicked. He's just a scumbag. I knocked on the door of the CEO's office, walked in, and sat on Jiang Shizhou's desk. What's the use of you thinking he's a scumbag? It's not about what you think. It's about what they think, right? If they're happy together, they'll just see you as someone meddling in their relationship. Don't believe me? I'll take you to see for yourself. Jiang Shizhou's supercar was too eye-catching, so I drove my own car, speeding all the way as I took Jiang Shizhou to Linjiang Road. Jiang Shizhou felt slightly dizzy in the passenger seat. I thought you were joking when you said you liked fast rides. I tilted my head and executed another sharp turn. Every word I've said to you is true. The tips of Jiang Shizhou's ears turned red again. On Linjiang Road, Su Duo was walking arm in arm with her first love, chatting and laughing by the riverside. The angle at which I parked the car allowed the young master to clearly see their happy faces from inside the vehicle. It was an expression of Su Duo's that he had never seen before. Su Duo had almost never smiled at him. Jiang Shizhou's face turned ashen the moment he glanced at them. That man, I used some means to send him abroad. Never thought he'd still come back. She clearly knows everything, yet still chooses to be with him. Jiang Shizhou covered his face with his slender fingers, finding it hard to accept. I told her back then that all his information was fabricated. What elite lawyer with a top education, just a freeloader who scams women for money. Whenever Jiang Shizhou appeared in front of Su Duo, she would avoid him. How could Su Duo take Jiang Shizhou's words seriously? She would only think it was his usual domineering tactic. However, Jiang Shizhou did indeed resort to forceful means, directly sending that scumbag away. I held his hand. That's why you two aren't compatible. She doesn't listen to what you say, and she doesn't care about your good intentions. We are the perfect match. The barrage of comments started scrolling again. What is this woman even doing? Wasn't it her who made the female lead's first love return to the country? Why is she acting all innocent? She's totally doing this on purpose, right? Earlier, she brought the female lead's parents in front of her, and the female lead trusted her completely, even confiding in her about personal matters. Then she turns around and lets the male lead witness the scene of the female lead with her first love. This is it. How can the male and female leads ever get together? The male and female leads simply cannot be together, because I'm going to be with Jiang Shizhou. I smiled at Jiang Shizhou and went home with him. I asked him, can I take a look at your basement? Jiang Shizhou froze. How did you know I have a basement? I moved closer to Jiang Shizhou. Not only do I know you have a basement, but I also know you really want to lock Su Duo in there, don't you? Su Duo is scared, but I'm not. Jiang Shizhou's pupils trembled with shock. I poked Jiang Shizhou's heart. Can't control yourself anymore, can you? I pointed at myself. You can lock me up, but only if you agree to be in a relationship with me. Jiang Shizhou hesitated. I continued. We are the same kind of people. I thought to myself. He probably rarely encounters someone as cooperative as me, and besides, I'm not bad either. Jiang Shizhou and I belong to the same world. I was also born into a wealthy family and raised in luxury for 20 years. Their world, their rules, I understand them all. I gave Jiang Shizhou some time. Take your time to think it over. That's all I have to say. If I keep being this forward, I'll start feeling embarrassed. Oh, by the way, let's get acquainted. My name is Wen Yu. Jiang Shizhou raised an eyebrow slightly. The heiress of the Wen family. I feel a slight regret. It won't be for long. My parents have found their real daughter and are about to kick me out. See, that's why I'm still working so hard right now. Jiang Shizhou's gaze darkened, but I turned and walked away. After more than 20 years of life, I discovered it was all a lie. After the real daughter returns, I won't be able to live this kind of life anymore. The Wen family's implication. between the lines, was to give me some compensation to prevent the real heiress from being reminded of painful memories upon seeing me. Just then, the male lead appeared. Having been accustomed to the life of the wealthy for so long, such a sudden change was hard for me to adjust to. The barrage comments were surprisingly kind. Mrs. Wen was still very kind to me and reluctant to let me leave the Wen family. She mentioned there would be an auction in the evening and invited me to see if there was anything I liked. She would bid for it and give it to me as a farewell gift. I attended in formal attire and immediately spotted the true heiress. When sure, her skin was somewhat dark, and she looked rather out of place in the elegant dress. When she saw me arrive, she quickly hid behind Mrs. Wen, as if I were about to bully her. Why would I bully her? The Wen family has indeed treated me with the utmost kindness. One by one, the auction items were displayed. Mrs. Wen asked me several times, but I declined each time. Instead, I suggested a few choices for when sure. I just wanted a more affordable piece of jewelry, something that would allow both sides to save face. A ruby-encrusted ring caught my eye. The starting bid was 1 million, already the lowest opening price at the entire auction. I whispered to Mrs. Wen, let's go with this one. Mrs. Wen nodded and raised her paddle. Soon, someone raised the bid to 8 million. I couldn't see how this item was worth 8 million at all. I tugged at Mrs. Wen's sleeve. I don't want it anymore. Wen Shuer muttered softly, I still want it. Madame Wen's expression was inscrutable as she considered raising her paddle again. 15 million. A mysterious buyer purchased the ring. Mrs. Wen sighed with regret. I'm really sorry. This was the one thing you wanted, and we still didn't manage to win the bid. Sure. Next time Mom will make it up to you with another set of jewelry, definitely no less exquisite than this one. I don't mind at all. I patted Mrs. Wen's hand reassuringly. Aunt Wen, it's really fine. I never cared much for these things anyway. Mrs. Wen hesitated, then whispered softly, you used to call me Mom before. I still wouldn't mind if you called me that. I shook my head at her and whispered into Mrs. Wen's ear. Wen Shuer has endured too much hardship and is emotionally sensitive. If my relationship with Mrs. Wen is too close, it will only hurt her timid and fearful heart. It's all right for me. I've already received more than enough. Mrs. Wen was stunned for a moment but didn't insist. Mrs. Wen left with Wen Shuer, both of them turning back to look at me every few steps. At that moment, Jiang Shizhou walked up beside me. Jiang Shizhou handed me a small box, and from its shape, I could tell it was the auction item from earlier. Feigning surprise, I said, why are you here? How did you know I liked this? Jiang Shizhou's lips curled up at the corners. I saw Mrs. Wen bring you here. Holding up a sign, I was delighted, my eyes crinkling into crescents as I smiled at Jiang Shizhou and thanked him. Thank you, Jiang Shizhou. So you like these things, I said very bluntly. No one dislikes money. Jiang Shizhou still wanted to argue with me, but after hesitating for a long time, the words never left his mouth. I knew what he was going to say. Su Duo doesn't like money. She's the female lead, noble in character. I'm just an ordinary person. So of course I wouldn't hold myself to the moral standards of the female lead. I told him seriously that he could lock me up if he wanted. Compared to being locked up, I'm more afraid of being broke and homeless. A happy life is something you have to fight for yourself. Mrs. Wen clearly saw Jiang Shizhou giving me something. After a brief moment of surprise, she took Wen Shuer and left. Jiang Shizhou asked me, do you still want to return to the Wen family? I shook my head. It was never mine to begin with. Jiang Shizhou slightly bent down, his warm breath close to me, his voice low and husky. Since when did you become so morally conscious? I raised my eyebrows slightly. Of course, I like you the most, so I'll strive hard to face the challenge head-on. I'll fight for you directly. I have the utmost confidence in my face. Besides, I also have the help of bullet comments. Jiang Shizhou just likes to play hard to get, but I beat him to it. Sweet words came effortlessly, and the tips of Jiang Shizhou's ears turned red. Bullet comment, you're dead, woman. The female lead is about to come looking for the male lead soon. Why are there so many obstacles between the male and female leads? The male lead is entangled with this woman, and the female lead is entangled with her first love. When will the male and female leads finally get together? It feels like all we see is this insignificant woman clinging to the male lead, but thankfully, the female lead has already realized her first love is a scumbag. The male lead was right to stop her from continuing that relationship. So Sua Duo regrets it now. I'd better hurry then. That evening, Mrs. Wen sent me a message, asking, "Ayu, are you involved with the young master of the Jiang family?" I faintly curled my lips. Perhaps he's just being polite because I'm the heiress of the Wen family, Mrs. Wen understood in her heart. How could that be? The Jiang family was an elite dynasty their Wen family couldn't even hope to reach. Why would they show any regard for their sake? Mrs. Wen, don't lie to me. If it were truly for our sake, he would have given it to Shu'er instead. When Shu'er's family recognition banquet was held with great fanfare, and the elite circles of the capital all knew I was a fake. Though no one said it outright, I would soon be moving out of the Wen family home. If you really end up with the Jiang family's young master, our family will definitely back you up, ensuring you marry in grand style. I replied earnestly to Madam Wen. Thank you, Aunt Wen, Mrs. Wen, I still think of you as my daughter. I smiled at the message. She sees me as her daughter, but I can't just take it for granted and see her as my mother. Blood ties are the most indelible. If I treat her as my mother, what would Wen Shu'er think? I will remember Mrs. Wen's kindness to me, and I will be grateful, but I can't be willful, otherwise, it would make things too awkward. I drive Jiang Shizhou to and from work every day, which works out perfectly since my project is closely collaborating with the Jiang Corporation. Every morning after my jog, I put on a full face of flawless makeup and then drive the young master around without a second thought. Shizhou, shall we go? Jiang Shizhou had also gotten used to it, smoothly taking his seat in the passenger side. The young master no longer drove sports cars himself. It had all become my job. I really enjoyed the feeling of having control over the steering wheel. If only I could take all the sports cars in the young master's garage for a spin. I drove all the way to the company at breakneck speed and almost hit Sudwa. It wasn't that I hit Sudwa. I had been pressing the accelerator the whole time when Sudwa suddenly darted out from the side. I barely managed to hit the brakes in time, but thankfully, I stopped just in time. I took a couple of deep breaths, still shaken by the close call. Sudwa's eyes were red as she threw herself onto the hood of the car. The sports car hadn't hit her. She walked over to the passenger side window and knocked again. The moment had finally arrived, my gaze fixed on Jiang Shizhou. He had just started to like me, but according to the plot, he was destined to fall for the female lead. Su Duo's eyes reddened. That person lied to me. I'm sorry, I misunderstood you before. Jiang Shizhou nodded slowly and said nothing more. Now, do you still want to date me? As long as you promise not to lock me in the basement and not expose me in front of colleagues, I can reluctantly agree. Su Duo seemed a bit uneasy. I could read the look in her eyes, both lingering affection and regret toward Jiang Shizhou. When Jiang Shizhou pursued her, aside from not considering her feelings, he also spent a lot of money on her. Moreover, Jiang Shizhou was an outstanding man in his own right. When dating other men, of course there would be a sense of disparity. Jiang Shizhou was momentarily stunned when he saw Su Duo's flushed face. The barrage of comments started rolling in at this moment. The showdown is here. The showdown is here. The cannon fodder is finally about to exit the scene. Our female lead has already made her stance clear. The male lead is definitely going to choose the female lead, but I think this cannon fodder treats the male lead better. The female lead may be seeking reconciliation, but it comes with conditions. I've never seen someone in the doghouse still acting so high and mighty. She's got the male lead wrapped around her finger. He's always been a bit spineless, just a wave from the female lead, and he'd wag his tail and come running. I'm also curious about what Jiang Shizhou will choose. Seeing Jiang Shizhou remain silent, Su Duo's voice rose sharply. Jiang Shizhou, are you back with her? How could you? Jiang Shizhou said to Su Duo. Have we ever truly been together? Su Duo, why are you questioning me now? Su Duo's face turned red with frustration. That's because you're too perverted. Who would want to be locked up in a basement? I just want to go to his basement. I love him, and I can go in. I looked at Su Duo with a smile and said, my hand resting on the steering wheel, Miss Su, can you leave now? We still have to go to the office to play, you know. Su Duo's face flushed crimson. Jiang Shizhou, don't you dare regret this. I rolled up the passenger window and drove the sports car into the company's underground garage, executing a perfect parallel park. Before getting out, I unbuckled my seatbelt and nestled into Jiang Shizhou's arms. I won't let you regret it. The garage was dimly lit. Jiang Shizhou's gaze was inscrutable in the faint light. Jiang Shizhou turned his head and said to me with a strange expression, did I really pursue her with such fervor back then? I let out a surprised, huh? Jiang Shizhou rubbed his head and said, although Miss Su looks quite delicate, she's not really my type. and I never thought I'd fall for someone so ordinary. I curled the corner of my lips, perhaps freed from the control of the plot. Jiang Shizhou, the male lead, had also returned to normal. Maybe it was just a fleeting moment of attraction. Jiang Shizhou placed my hand on his chest. I don't feel the slightest heartbeat for her. I touched it, and there really isn't any. Even when Su Duo was right in front of Jiang Shizhou just now, he remained unusually calm. So I'm quite surprised too. But I haven't lost my memory. I clearly remember doing many ridiculous things to pursue her. Luckily, she doesn't like attention, or else I would have made a spectacle of myself. I think the person I like should be a socialite like you, someone who moves in the same circles as me, not someone from outside my world. That's more like it, but I used to be a rich girl, not anymore, though it's all the same now. I leaned in and kissed Jiang Shizhou. My eyes sparkled as I stared at him. See how fast your heart is beating. That means you like me the most. Let's go play in the office and the basement too. I've really been looking forward to it. Jiang Shizhou's ears turned red at the tips again. After failing to pester Jiang Shizhou once more, Su Duo couldn't bring herself to swallow her pride either. She found hookup apps on her first love's phone. He had hidden them, but Su Duo still discovered them. And she also learned that his educational background and experiences were all fabricated. It was outright deception to her. I thoroughly investigated Su Duo's first love's background and laid all the evidence before her. Su Duo was unable to calm down for a long time. After a while, she softly spoke to me. Thank you for helping me see the reality clearly. Stay away from your parents, and don't give them any more money. Su Duo hesitated, but they are still my parents after all. I said to her seriously once again, no one can quit gambling. It's a bottomless pit. Maybe there's family love between you. But no matter what kind of love it is, you should always put yourself first, right? You're so clear-headed in love. Why are you being confused when it comes to family? Su'a nodded. I'll give it serious thought. Sua's eyes were already slightly red. Why are all the people around me like this? My first love was fake. My parents are just using me. Only Jiang Shizhou's feelings for me are genuine, of course. If she held on to Jiang Shizhou tightly, she could stay far away from all these scumbags. But she didn't want that. She just wanted to leave Jiang Shizhou. You can't compete with me for him. He's my boyfriend now. I crossed my legs and gave her a sweet smile. Sudo was stunned. No, I wouldn't, I said to her earnestly, without even thinking. He's mine. When I smile at her, it's my best angle. Every part of me exudes an air of absolute certainty. Su Duo is actually quite ordinary. Feeling somewhat inferior in front of me, Su Duo asked, why do you want to be with him? Sister, you're also a wealthy heiress, right? Why not find a normal man? A normal man. I found Su Duo's naivety amusing. Among the scions of wealthy families, they're either playboys or arrogant elites who look down on someone of my status. Where else could you find someone like Jiang Shizhou, apart from a few minor quirks? He's practically perfect in every other way, but I couldn't say that to Su Duo. Maybe Jiang Shizhou doesn't remember, but when I was bullied as a child, he saved me, so when you were giving him a hard time, I rushed to his rescue. I made that up. It's not like I could say I knew he was the male lead because of the bullet comments, right? I walked out of the coffee shop and ran into Jiang Shizhou around the corner. Turns out Jiang Shizhou had come to eavesdrop after learning I was meeting Su Duo. It was the first time Jiang Shizhou had ever looked at me with love in his eyes. He rested his chin on my neck and murmured, "Sweetheart, you're so kind." I leaned against his furry head. We can at least be considered friends. I reached out and wrapped my arm around Jiang Shizhou's waist. Besides, if it weren't for her, how could I have such a wonderful boyfriend? I love you. I've wanted you since I was very young. There was still a text message in my phone sent to Su Duo's first love. A photo of Su Duo standing in front of Jiang Shizhou's sports car. Sure enough, he caught the scent and came looking for Su Duo. I have to delete it before officially getting together with Jiang Shizhou. Someone as kind-hearted as me can't have any blemishes. Being with Jiang Shizhou means my company projects go smoothly without a hitch, and the CEO is doubling my year-end bonus this year. Jiang Shizhou even entrusted me with managing a subsidiary, making my career path even smoother. Being with Jiang Shizhou, I was spared the fall from wealthy life to ordinary existence. I could continue living the privileged life of the past 20 years without needing the one family's compensation. Most importantly, I gained a tall, rich, and handsome boyfriend with strong possessive tendencies. The male lead setup. Honestly, I don't understand why anyone wouldn't choose the male lead. the pinnacle of life doesn't stop here. The Wen family also reached out to me multiple times to reconnect. All because of my relationship with Jiang Shizhou. Since they took the initiative, of course I wouldn't refuse. The news of Jiang Shizhou and me being together spread throughout the elite circles, and because of me, Jiang Shizhou even appeared at the Wen family's events. The Wen family's attitude toward me also changed significantly. They didn't ask me to move out, nor did they publicly sever ties, but I still tactfully moved out on my own. Because when Shuer was very unhappy and quietly sobbing in the Wen family, why can when you marry such a good man, but I can't. Jiang Shizhou is indeed the standard male lead. In the upper echelons of high society, there's only one man who is both handsome, wealthy, and loyal. After seeing him, when Shuer became dissatisfied with all the arranged marriage candidates the Wen family found for her, crying and complaining at home all day, Mrs. Wen often complained to me, if only Shuer were half as sensible and capable as you, I wouldn't be so troubled. I could only console her. She hasn't been in a wealthy family for over 20 years, so she doesn't understand the rules here, just like Su Duo, who, despite having the status of a female lead, still seemed out of place in a world that wasn't hers. Otherwise, I wouldn't have spotted her at a glance. Besides, Wen Shuer isn't even the female lead, so she needs to work even harder. I actually don't know what Wen Shuer has to be unhappy about. She now has the unconditional and boundless love of everyone in the Wen family, along with a monthly allowance of $200,000. If she wants to be liked by handsome guys, she can just hire male models. If she wants attention, she can become a celebrity, looking for a good marriage alliance. Well, this is indeed a bit challenging. After all, I also relied on the barrage messages. Thanks to the barrage, I discovered this male lead. Thanks to the Wen family, who gave me 20 years of affluent life, providing me with the confidence in both love and career, Jiang Shizhou and I officially got together. Since we were already in the same circle, I knew some of his friends, and they all spoke up for me. Jiang Shizhou came to propose marriage, and it was to the Wen family. Madame Jiang was very satisfied with me. She had long heard of Jiang Shizhou's infatuation with Su Duo. If it were 3 years ago, she wouldn't have looked twice at a fake phoenix like me either. But people are comparative creatures. With Su Duo as a contrast, Madame Jiang increasingly found me polite, sensible, and from a good family. Madame Wen also kept praising me as her sensible daughter, the pearl of the Wen family, if one ignored Wen Shu's trembling body and the occasional sarcastic remarks directed at me. Everything was perfect. I didn't really mean to bully Wen Shu. The two families raised their glasses together, finalizing the marriage between me and Jiang Shizhou. My hand under the table reached out to hold Jiang Shizhou's, but Jiang Shizhou didn't respond to me. This was the first time he hadn't responded to me after confirming our relationship. My face flushed red, and after everything was settled, I felt a slight tipsiness and relaxation. I didn't dwell on that faint sense of something being off. I had a few drinks too, so naturally I couldn't be Jiang Shizhou's driver anymore. Jiang Shizhou didn't drink. He was very sober tonight, almost unlike my boyfriend. He didn't drive, didn't even start the car. Jiang Shizhou's gaze turned toward me. I used to hate being lied to the most. My heart skipped a beat, as if gripped by an invisible hand. When did you find out? I never saw you when I was little. Su Duo's parents and first love. You called them all here. You sent her away to seduce me. Jiang Shizhou's obsidian-like eyes shone even brighter in the quiet car, his hand gripping my neck as if to choke me, yet without applying any real force. It should have been an intimidating situation, yet I felt an inexplicable sense of relief and relaxation. Jiang Shizhou would undoubtedly be furious upon discovering he'd been deceived, but if he couldn't even bring himself to choke me to death, he must have fallen for me. From the very beginning of doing this, I'd been taking the risk of being discovered. The young master of a wealthy family wasn't controlled by the plot, making him really hard to fool. One move short in the game. I originally planned to get pregnant as a protective charm, but my relationship with Jiang Shizhou was so good that I completely forgot about it. I met his gaze. But you didn't expose me, BB. You've fallen for me. I gave him a sly smile. If it weren't for me, the one marrying you now would be Su Duo. CEO Jiang would have to ride shared bikes to work and be laughed at by the wealthy elite. Jiang Shizhou's tone was stiff. That's still no excuse for you to deceive me. I lowered my head and lightly licked the large hand he had clamped around my neck. Jiang Shizhou immediately let go of me as if electrocuted. But Su Duo said you have a basement, and I got really excited. At that moment, I thought, If only I could be the one locked in there. Jiang Shizhou's eyes flickered, and I guessed he had taken my words to heart. As expected, the barrage didn't lie. This young master indeed has some domineering tendencies. I continued speaking in a soft, sweet voice. You're not losing out. I love you, and I'm willing to be locked up by you. I really like you. You're the best person I've ever met, but there are countless noble ladies out there who are better than me and like you. That's why I had to resort to some measures. I'm just the fake heiress. There's nothing I can do about it. My tears fell drop by drop. Look at Wen Sure. She doesn't want me in the Wen family. I'll have to move out soon. The contrast is too much for me. They keep saying day and night that I shouldn't covet what doesn't belong to me, including you. But I like you, Jiang Shizhou. I really like you. My voice rose, tears streaming down my face as I stole glances at Jiang Shizhou while crying, seeing no reaction from him. Even the Wen family has abandoned me. Are you going to abandon me too? My expression shattered as I unfastened the seatbelt, making a move to get out of the car. Finally, I saw a slight crack in Jiang Shizhou's composure as he began wiping away my tears with his fingertips. Why are you crying now? I had always been strong and dominant in front of him, first time feeling vulnerable. I couldn't tell if my tears were genuine or acted, my heart still aching with bitterness as they fell. I didn't say I don't want you. I'm just a bit confused inside. No one likes being deceived. His tone was cold, clearly still not having forgiven me. I looked at Jiang Shizhou and said earnestly, can I take a look at your basement? Jiang Shizhou looked surprised but still took me there. Aren't you scared at all? In Jiang Shizhou's basement, I finally saw the male lead setup. There's a bathroom inside and a warm, large bed. Truly the bad intentions of someone who enjoys forced confinement. I sat on the bed, looked up, and spoke very seriously to Jiang Shizhou. The liking is real. If it's you, I'm not afraid, but we have to agree. You can't restrict my freedom. Jiang Shizhou's eyes flickered, and the tips of his ears quietly turned red. As expected, the man still softened his heart toward me. Otherwise, why would he bring me here? If it were the old Jiang Shizhou, he might have told me to get lost on the spot. I took the initiative to restrain myself with the handcuffs I had given to Jiang Shizhou. In a room like this, Jiang Shizhou's Adam's apple bobbed uncontrollably. I knelt down and said to him, it feels amazing, try it. Afterwards, Jiang Shizhou held me by the waist, his voice low and husky, don't lie to me again. I snuggled sweetly into his embrace. Honey, how could I ever lie to you? I've read so many books about forced love. And it must have struck a chord in his heart. Jiang Shizhou, who else would deceive you so wholeheartedly after me? No, I love you. After hearing the two stories above, what are your thoughts? Feel free to share your opinions in the comments section. Looking forward to hearing from you. If you liked this story, don't forget to like it, share it, and subscribe to my channel. See you next time.